My name is Jack Gardner, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use Body-Parser with Node.js. So the first step we're going to want to take is creating a workspace folder. So I'm going to write make directory project. It's going to create a project folder right here. Now we're going to want to mount that directory. We're going to go cd project. Now everything we do is going to happen in that project folder. Now the first thing we're going to want to do is install Body-Parser. So we're going to want to go npm install. Oh, I'm sorry. The first step is going to be initializing our project. So we're going to want to type npm init-y. So the -y makes it so that a lot of defaults don't have to be entered manually. Now we can write an npm install Body-Parser, npm install express. So express is what's going to be allowing us to exchange information between a front end and a back end in a web project. Body-Parser is what's going to be converting the HTML that we're sending to the backend into a JSON file that's a lot easier to read. All right, so what you can see right here, Node modules, that's storing the Body-Parser in Express. That's what we just installed. And this is the project that just got initialized. So you can see it automatically set the name and a lot of different things. So we don't have to set that manually. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to create a new file called front.html. This is going to be the front end that the back end is sending to the web browser. So I'll show you the code I want in there. Here it is. All right, so this is pretty basic. I assume you know a little bit about HTML, but I'll give you a little review just in case. This is just the head information, not important. Here we have the body, and we have a form. So the form, we have a button down here. It's a submit form button. When this button is pressed, it is going to use the post method and send all of this information right here to the dash submit endpoint. Now, right now, it's not going to do anything. If I just open with live server, it's just a blank form. If I type in here, even if I say jojo.@email.com and click submit, nothing happens. It just blanks out. So what we're going to do is make a backend that will actually process that information using Body-Parser. Okay, so the next new file we're going to create, let's call this, app.js. All right, so there's a few things we're going to want in here. First, we're going to use this to import the modules that we installed. This is Express, this is Body-Parser, this is Path. So now, whenever we want to access Body-Parser, we're going to type in Body-Parser, Express, Path. Now I could change this to Body or just to B if I wanted to. I'm going to use Body-Parser right now just because it's easiest to read. Now next, we're going to want to create our app. So this app is what's actually going to be running. When we run the script, it's going to compile everything into this app, and that app is actually going to be running on our system. And so that's going to be using Express to exchange information. So it's an Express object, and it's going to be using the Body-Parser. So right here, this is what's enabling our app to use the Body-Parser. So right here, this is telling the Body-Parser to convert it into JSON. So it'll take that HTML data, turn it into JSON. So the next thing we're going to want to do, so there's two kinds of, two main kinds of communication you can do. One is get and one is post. Get is my server taking something and giving it to a web browser. Right here. So app.get, this means that when a web browser types in my address and then enters a dash, it's going to give it that front HTML file I made. So request, that's like the input from the browser. Response, res, is going to be what I'm sending. So res.send file is sending the HTML file to the browser. So when they access this server with a dash, they're going to be getting this file. Now next, post. So get is me taking something and giving it to the web browser. Post is the opposite. It's the browser sending me data and then me processing that. So we're going to do that part by hand. So let's go app.post, submit. So that's the endpoint we were talking about over here, right? So this is how the backend knows, oh, okay, you're contacting this endpoint, right? This is how it knows, okay, you want to take this form and submit it here. You can think of it as like a door in. The dash submit is the door in. And right here, request and res. So request is what's actually going to have that HTML data. Body-Parser is going to turn that into JSON. That's what this does right here. All right. So I'm going to go equals arrow, curly brackets there, const. So what I'm doing here is creating a dictionary. So it's a constant dictionary, so it's always going to be a dictionary with name and email values. And then I'm going to set that to the body of the JSON file in the request. So that's the data the front end is sending me. Now I'm going to send the web browser this message. Received name, and I'm going to use this $sign right here in the curly brackets to tell it to use this variable right there. Name, and then email, and then another $sign, curly brackets, email. All right. Now, one thing you might notice is that name and email are not highlighted. That's because I used regular brackets right here. They're hard to see, but you're going to want to use diagonal brackets, diagonal quotations. That's what's going to enable email and name to be used dynamically within the stream. So that's the, if you go on look at your keyboard, it's that key right next to the escape key with that little diagonal dash. It's hard to see, but it's very helpful. Alrighty then. So that's our post. The one thing we still need though, so this is our post, this is our get. So it's kind of like if you have a house, you have a window you throw stuff out of, you have a door you take stuff in, but what's your address? Now that's the part we're going to solve right now. So computers use something called ports. That's sort of, it's basically an address. So right now we're going to, this script right here, basically we're taking port 2999. So when we want to access our server, we're going to have to type in localhost 2999. Right here, we're telling the our app to listen on this port, right? We set it to port right there. And when it happens, when it starts listening, it's going to log this in our console down here. So I'm going to save our application. If I run node app.js, let's see what happens. Oh, minor error. Let's see what this is. Oh, I see. Okay, so this is a common error. So if you'll notice, my app.js and front.html are not inside the project. Good learning moment. So I'm just going to drag those into the project. Sorry about that. Now if I run it, I see server is running on port 29999. All right. Now let's see how we access that. So I'm going to go to link web page. Going to go to localhost 2999. And I get my submit form. So the server just gave me this submit form. So if I enter Jack, and then email is blub@blob.com, and click submit, let's see what happens. Oh, I get a message. Received, name Jack. Email is blub@blob.com.